Yes, yes, yes.
Prime Minister, the issue that we heard yesterday, Jamaicans who are now in the process of applying for immigrant visas,
Yes,
their lives are now upended.
yes, yes.
How is the Jamaican government, how are you responding in terms of making a case for Jamaicans? Because the thesis is that they could be a likely public charge on the American purse, taxpayers' purse. Jamaicans are industrious. We are notorious for doing 2-3 jobs in America. We don't fall in that category. How are you responding? How are you going to respond?
Well, first, there are some things, and I'm happy you have given me the time and with a certain amount of leisure to respond, because
Sure.
these subjects require thoughtful responses.
Sure.
When I was growing up, which is not so long ago, all of my friends wanted to go to the United States. They all wanted to migrate. And even when I was at university, all of my friends wanted to migrate. They just could not see a future here in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
I never took that view. I thought I will stay in Jamaica, I'll work in Jamaica, and I will make the best for my people and my country. It is not that they were unpatriotic and I was somehow superior in my patriotism. No, I think there was just a sense of frustration with the nation. And I think that sense of frustration would have carried for many decades and many generations. And it was in the interest of receiving countries for many years to use Jamaican labor, to use Jamaican talent, to build their GDP. When I became Prime Minister second time around, I visited Cayman. And I was in Cayman, they were having a celebration there, and they invited me to be a guest. And it struck me that more than half of the population in Cayman could claim either being Jamaican or having Jamaican heritage. Mm-hmm. A developed society that relies on Jamaican talent. And it's not just Cayman. You could go all around the Caribbean. You could go all around the world and see what Jamaican talent has accomplished when paired with good government and opportunity. So the problem was never the people. The problem was always what governments do and the opportunity they create. Somebody has to stay here and fix government and create opportunity. Mm-hmm. Because it is not always going to be in the interest of the receiving country to have immigration. Because remember, they received immigration on the basis that it was a net benefit to their economy. Mm-hmm. Now, I cannot make any prescription as to how Americans or any other society view immigration, nor whether or not it's a net benefit to their society, whether or not it helps with not just diversity, but with innovation and the cost of labor and so forth. So that's a political decision for another sovereign country. My job is to create good government and opportunity so that people can make their economic decision not just on a moral position of patriotism, but on the ability to feed their family. Mm-hmm. This does not happen with the snap of a finger or overnight. Okay? So if you were to take some of the pain points that would push people to migrate, the ability to get a job, then a good salary, infrastructure, not just roads, but world-class infrastructure. You want to be able to go to the cinema, go to good restaurants. You want to be able to have, good landscape and streetscapes to feel like you're enjoying modernity and you don't have to leave here to go somewhere else to do that. The place is clean and so forth. Good health care, good education, and of course, a peaceful society. Now let's look at all of those things. Lowest unemployment rate in Jamaica's history since my administration. We're practically full employment. All right, so the employment issue is not a problem. No, the problem is we just can't find people to work. Why? Because there's heavy migration. And as you have heard, the birth rate is below replacement. So these are social issues on the horizon that we have to address, all right, if our economy is to grow. the issue of higher wages. Higher wages don't just come because I am demanding higher wages. Higher wages are tied to productivity, and productivity is tied to innovation and the integration of technology, and that means better management, that means higher skills. So to get higher wages, you have to get higher skills, higher innovation, and better strategic management of resources. We're working on that. Then let's look at crime. Clearly, that is where we have made the biggest impact. We have reduced murders, which is the ultimate expression, the ultimate form of violence. And we're keeping that down, and the objective now is to attain peace. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but peace is the resolution of conflict.
What you're saying, Mr. Prime Minister, is that your administration has successfully been dealing with the push factors that would drive people to look towards the U.S.
Yeah, and as I travel, one of the things I get is that people are, people have been saying, but I'm going to get my Jamaican passport. If you look at the number of applications for Jamaican passport from overseas, it has just increased almost 100-fold, more than that. So people are beginning to look back at Jamaica seriously to come back. Now, for those persons who have, genuinely, there's always a certain number of persons who genuinely want to migrate, they want access, we don't train nuclear scientists here, for example. They might want to take up a course in nuclear science, they have to migrate to that, whatever it is. So those are persons who are going to be affected by this, without question. And of course, we do have an obligation to pursue diplomatic channels, but we must always bear in mind that's a sovereign decision by a sovereign country. And, we make no pronouncements on it, other than we will use our diplomatic efforts to restore normalcy. But bear in mind the position. We must build our own country. And we need to stop this kind of view that, it's so easy to say, there's a kind of cynicism, but this is no reality. Other countries may very well follow suit. There is a growing public view in many developed countries. And I don't know if Jamaicans follow international affairs, but you're seeing a growing trend for countries to want to stem immigration. So we need to look.
There's no enthusiasm on your part to really lobby the Trump administration to make the case for Jamaicans to be exempted.
No, that's not what I've said. I've said we will pursue diplomatic channels. We definitely will do that. But we're going to pursue even more, making our country the place of choice to live, work, do business, raise families, and retire in paradise. I think that is a greater objective that we must do.
Were you caught by surprise when you saw that Jamaica was included on the list?
I don't want to say too much, but one of the purposes of government is to be the periscope, to look, come out of the water and look to the horizon and see what is coming. So we already saw what could be the future. And so we've been planning and working assiduously towards that. Look, it's easy to say go on and lobby, but you also have to bear in mind that sometimes these things are called negotiations. And so what are you going to give, what are you going to get? So, the Jamaican public, I think, needs to understand that we are in a different era of global and geopolitical, geoeconomic, and geomilitary politics. And it requires a certain smarts, a certain foresight and thoughtfulness to manage the process to keep Jamaica safe. Bear in mind, in all of this, Jamaica is still, one of the strongest countries institutionally, with one of the strongest economies that still has access all over the world.
One of your predecessors, one of your former party leaders, former Prime Minister Golding, in commenting on this, said the man who sits in the Oval Office 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Donald Trump is a megalomaniac. Would you agree?
You know, as Prime Minister of Jamaica, and I want to repeat that, my job is to keep Jamaica safe. We respect the policies and programs of sovereign nations. If they have a negative impact on us, we obviously will use our diplomatic channels and other channels to bring our case, to lobby, to negotiate, to make sure that the best interest of Jamaica is always pursued and maintained.
So you wouldn't agree with him?
No, I have no views on what was said by anyone else on this matter. My own view is that President Trump is, pursuing a strategic agenda, which I don't think it is a surprise to many. It's well documented. You can read several of the international articles and several of the think tanks and what they have published. So you understand what it is that they are about. We should not be fazed by this, and I think that is where the challenge is. There is an expectation that the global order is always going to be the way we thought it was. The global order changes over time. These policies are not new policies. They were pursued in the early 1920s. They were pursued before. So what we must do as a small, developing country is to be able to position ourselves to take advantage of opportunities that are created and protect ourselves from threats. All right? We should not get diverted into ideological